spring meeting of the RMC. And I guess we'll call this meeting to order. I see that we're up to 69. We may have a few more people coming in. We are expecting to get something close to 100 people. And I do see a number of the executive directors of other Tri-County councils here. So thank you for attending, Scott. Glad to see you're here.
I'm here, sir. Wouldn't miss it.
And is Charlotte on?
I'm here.
All right. Good afternoon. Are we ready to kick off, or would you prefer to wait a couple more minutes? I've got about 5 minutes after 12.
Well, I'm fine to start.
All right.
You are.
Well, I'm calling this meeting to order of the Rural Maryland Council. The first item on the agenda, well, the welcomes, and I think I've handled that. But it's really good to see all of you here, and we appreciate your attendance and your interest. And I did want to say thank you, because when we did Rural Maryland Day, a lot of you went to talk to the legislators. And I can't tell you how much that helps. We go see the later in the session, and they are familiar with our programs. You're the people who actually make things happen. And they really understand and appreciate the services and the grants that you're getting and the economic value of what you're doing. So I want to thank all of you that participated, and I want to thank everybody on this call who has gotten a grant. We were happy to see that we got the additional funds from the retainer. Some of you have gotten that money already. Others of you will get it shortly. So I just want to say thanks a lot for helping us out and being here at this meeting. The first thing business here is the executive board meeting minutes from January 29th, 2021. Does anybody want to, do they have any changes, corrections, misspellings that they would want to correct before I call for the motion?
No.
No.
I move that we accept the minutes as written. This is Dr. Anderson, Heidi Anderson.
Thank you.
I second that. This is Matt Defoe.
Okay, thank you. And all in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
And I do see that I wanted to mention also that we've turned on recording for this event so that we can do a better job on the minutes and everything. So if you're don't want to be recorded, probably be a good idea to move out of the meeting, or maybe you just don't want to be recorded in your current attire, so you can just turn your video camera off. Second thing on the agenda here is a financial report. Charlotte.
Okay, so in the packet of materials that was sent, you'll see the financial report, and as per the strategic plan, we are doing a 3-year pro forma budget. So you'll see both FY 2021 on that document, as well as FY 2022. Those of you who may not be familiar, the state's fiscal calendar ends June 30th of the calendar year and then begins July 1. So since this is the last board meeting of this fiscal year, I need you to look at both the FY 2021 and the FY 2022 budget. So for FY 2021, as John said, we did receive the approval from the Department of Budget and Management to release the $400,000 retainer for the FY 2021 MERDAF and RMPIF grant. So we are in the process of distributing that now. If you have not received a notification from us, please let us know, but it should be, there are some entities I think we need signed disbursements from. So we'll be in contact about that shortly. But you'll see for FY 2021, the majority of the grant funding has been distributed. We've expended, let's see, $5.2 million in grant funds. And then we have $271,644 in expenditures for the Rural Maryland Council. That leaves us with a balance of $216,000 available for fiscal year 2021. I would ask that the RMC Executive Board delegate to the RMC Executive Committee, like we have in years past, to work on determining spending that additional funding. I did get news from Maryland Department of Agriculture that our spending freeze a little more free in spending right now due to, I guess, the federal stimulus. So a little less constraints, and looking forward to working through that. Now, one issue I did want to bring up to the board, we had previously supported Maryland Farm and Harvest and Maryland Public Television, and I wanted to make sure you all wanted to continue to support that for the next. I've been approached by MPT if we want to continue one of the highly watched programs on Maryland Public Television.
Charlotte, did you want that as a separate motion or to be?
Yeah, if I could.
I'll make that motion, Steve McHenry.
Craig Patcham, I'll second it.
Any discussion regarding its Farm and Harvest and Maryland Public Television support? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
John, this is Lindsay Thompson. I'm going to abstain.
Okay, understand. And I'm not sure whether there are any Maryland government people. They may be abstaining on this as well. All right, motion passed.
I did so, and then also included is the fiscal year 2022 budget. And I do want to convey our thanks to Governor Hogan for fully funding the Rural Maryland Prosperity Investment Fund, the RMC. We did, because of the timing of the budget, initially as introduced, we had taken a 20% cut. But due to the federal stimulus, we've been made whole thanks to the governor. We really appreciate that additional funding coming through. And so you'll see, we'll talk a little bit about the funding formula itself, but you'll see the RMC is scheduled to receive $500,000 for operational expenses for FY 2022. And so I just need a motion to approve the preliminary budget as presented for FY 2022.
So moved. This is Heidi Anderson again.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Phil Valentine.
Thank you, Phil. And any discussion on the budget? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, Charlotte, we're good. Next thing is the Rural Maryland Prosperity Investment Fund report. Chair Susan O'Neill.
Thanks, John. Let everybody know that the RMPIF committee has met 2 times in the last month to go over things. I want to thank all the committee members who did take the time out of their schedule to meet. We did reviewed both RIMPIF and MERDAF guidelines, and there were some recommendations we'd like to make on the MERDAF. I know Charlotte had said she wanted to be a little more, or have the possibility of being a little more proactive when we're looking for grant applications. So the Planning and Development Committee had sent us some thoughts on what they thought we should be making priority, and the RIMPIF committee agreed. So did everybody receive the guidelines and criteria, like in a separate attachment? Well, on the first page of the MERDAF, or in the RIMPIF, the MERDAF, I'm sorry, application or guidelines, you'll see a box like halfway down. And this is what we're encouraging the applications to focus on. And the 5 areas was agriculture and forestry, energy, rural broadband, youth engagement, and community and economic development. And there's a little more, there's some bullet points underneath those 5 areas. So that was the one change. And Charlotte, do we just do both changes at the same time, or? Okay. The second change is on the back of that sheet. You'll see some bullet points. The very first bullet point is we just kind of flushed out that MERDAF does not fully fund a position. So we don't want you to, or we don't want to support creating a position that has no other funding. We will fund staff time associated with the project. So that first bullet point is really just was flushing that out, making that a little clearer. I believe that, what else did we do, Charlotte? Is those the 2 main things?
The funding formula, then that's included in the packet of the materials.
Yeah, the
So
next,
how the funding is going to be distributed.
okay, do you need anything accepted on this first, or do you want me to just?
Well, I need you guys to sign off on these guidelines and criteria and the deadlines mainly. I want to point out that we're going to open the grants portal on April 26th. The letter of intent deadline is May 21st. Full application deadlines, July 16th, and then awards announced August 23rd.
Charlotte, did you,
Charlotte, it's appropriate for me to move approval of the recommended changes?
question first.
Yes.
Charlotte, did you say the full application was July 18th?
July 16th.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Sounds like you had a second,
Yeah.
Steve.
I think Steve moved, didn't you? Or were you?
Yeah, I moved it.
Yes, Steve made the motion.
And who did we have for a second?
Maya. Do you know anything about Instagram?
Me or Charlotte? Charlotte, you wanna?
I don't know anything about Instagram.
I can help you with that.
So John, is it appropriate as the committee chair to second that? I don't know about that part.
You could move it and then Steve could be the second.
Okay,
Susan, this is Scott. I'll second it.
okay. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Questions? All in favor of approving the modifications to the RMPIF and MERDAF guidelines? They were fairly minor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
And Charlotte, you know what I should, oh, sorry, go ahead, John. I jumped
No.
in too soon.
Go ahead. Did you have something else?
Yes, I should have included this in the changes. We eliminated health from MERDAF. Is that correct, Charlotte? We
Well,
eliminated.
as a
the ca-
planning priority,
Okay.
I just want to make it clear.
Charlotte.
Can't hear.
Charlotte, wait.
We're going to accept any application.
Try turn your video off for a second and then describe.
Me,
We're not hearing you, Charlotte.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Much.
Sorry, my internet's been really shaky today.
So you were saying we're moving as a planning priority, correct? That was the correction?
Yes, we'll still accept healthcare applications to MERDAF.
Okay,
We would prefer, we want to incentivize people to apply through RMPIF is what we want to do.
okay.
Good.
So we don't need a motion on that.
Well, I would prefer one. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a change.
I'll make that motion, Steve.
All right, Steve, I'll second it. It's Scott, because I don't want Susan to sit there and wait for a second.
I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to behave.
You're doing great.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you, Steve and Scott. And so we are not removing it as a grant. We are just not prioritizing it in the list of priority items
For MERDAF.
for MERDAF. That's, and so that's the change. It doesn't actually change the way people apply, but it does change the perception of where they should apply. And that's, I'll give that as a clarification, and we're ready for a vote unless somebody has more questions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, appreciate that. Motion carried. Now, did we catch everything there, Susan? I think we did.
I think, I don't know if we lost Charlotte, but I think she wanted, Charlotte, do you want to vote on the funding formula?
No, I think that's
No?
fine. We're just running it through what the statute says. There's really no determination on that. I just wanted to be, that's people to where, that formula is in the statute. There's an alternative formula if we're not fully funded, but since we're fully funded, that doesn't come into play. So you don't need it. I don't think we need a vote on that.
Okay, then,
Charlotte, this is Scott. We've always taken that. Do you want to take a vote just to wrap it up so there's no
Yeah.
question in the minutes? That
Yeah.
We're just accepting as is?
Yep. Okay.
Just for your records, that's all, in case.
Yeah.
That way MDA knows.
I'll second Scott's motion. Steve.
Thank you, Steve. So to clarify for those that may be a little confused, I know I was the first few years, there's a backup formula for when if the governor doesn't, the legislature doesn't fully fund us. And that only comes into play if we're substantially underfunded. This year we got full funding, so we're using the funding formula that's in the statute. And all those that vote yay are voting to use the standard funding formula that's in the statute.
Just a question from Heidi
Yes.
Anderson. John,
Yes.
afterwards, do we send a note to the governor thanking him for fully funding us?
I
We
definitely.
already did.
Okay, just,
As soon as that budget passed.
all right.
Yes, we did that, and that's one of the very first items we did. And it might have been actually literally minutes after the budget passed. So good work on that, Charlotte. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
I
And
did want to mention, did we mention the information sessions in the grant workshop?
No, we did not.
Okay, this is in the press release, so I want to let everybody know if you know of organizations that want to apply. We are doing 2 Zoom sessions, just primarily they're the information sessions we traditionally do around the state in person. We'll do them on Zoom, so it'll be an interactive meeting, not a webinar. We'll do those Tuesday, April 27th from noon to 2, and then Wednesday, May 5th from noon to 2. And if we'll record those, if they can't make those times, they can view them online. And then we will be available for specific appointments the week of May 10th, that we'll do individual Zoom meetings with folks if they have questions. And then we'll do a grant workshop. It's just an hour workshop on Friday, April 30th from 11 to 12 to help those organizations that may be unfamiliar with writing grants and giving them those pointers and tips on completing grants. So we'll be sending that information out electronically with registration links, but I wanted to let you all know that we will be hosting those later this month.
And another question on that, Charlotte? If
Yeah.
someone from our organization applies, that doesn't put us in a conflict of interest, correct?
No, it does not, because it is a separate board that
Okay.
reviews and makes those decisions. It's not the
Okay,
council.
thank you very much. I just
Yep.
want clarity. Thank you.
Mhm.
Excellent. Anything else before we move on to the legislative committee?
I think we're good.
Okay. I just want to point out before I hand this over to Lindsay and/or Chris, I did print out all of the documents that we have produced. Following tell Dan Ryder, I'm trying to keep forest workers in employment. And it is impressive. It's a substantial number of position documents and testimony and various other things. I do think that the legislators really appreciated the fact that we were able to put forth our rural perspective on a lot of the legislation that was in the House and Senate this year. And with that, I'll pass it over to, is it Lindsay and/or Chris?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lindsay Thompson, co-chair of the Legislative Committee for the RMC. Charlotte's honestly covered a lot of what I was going to talk about. So just a couple of points. We're going to have a legislative committee call, not the 12th, which is sine die, but the 19th, to do a session wrap up for anybody that is interested in doing that. I also just wanted to say thank you to the RMC staff. Megan and Dakota and Amanda and Charlotte all did a great job getting legislative testimony together. We were able to submit letters of information and support on a variety of different bills. And so thank you to them. Really, really good work there. And then also just looking back to the Rural Maryland Day, I think the outcomes of this session for RMC are a really good example of how important it is to engage with your legislators, even in this virtual environment, right? So, you know, big thanks to Charlotte and her team and everybody who participated in advocating for RMC and the budget and the positive outcomes that we saw there. If anybody has questions on any specific legislation or the budget, you can follow up with myself and Chris and Charlotte as well.
Lindsay, this is in here. I just wanted to say it looked like people really appreciated the box lunch effort. So thank you for, and everybody that contributed to that for trying to make things as normal as possible this year. Is there, do we think the legislature will in fact end on Monday?
I was going to ask Lindsay that. I heard a rumor they were going to extend it.
Anybody
know?
I don't know. Weird things have been happening, folks.
Oh my gosh.
I have never, so this week, the Essential Workers Protection Bill came out of the House
went over to Senate Rules and came out of Senate Rules the same day and was scheduled for a hearing. And the bill sponsor did not show up for the hearing in the Senate. And so we were all kind of like, oh, maybe they're not going to push it through. Well, then it looks like now it is, they did have a hearing and it is going to potentially, you know, come out. But lots of like weird things are happening. What else can we expect right now? It's a virtual session in 2021, right? But I would say I would not be surprised if they did extend the session at least a couple of days.
And I also just wanted to point out, also included in the budget was historic funding for broadband, $300 million. A good portion of that's going to go to rural broadband as well. And then in the Kerwin legislation, they added $200 per student to the foundation formula for broadband devices and connectivity. So I think it was a big session for broadband expansion.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I would say a lot of our discussions centered around broadband in general. And we were, I would say, pleasantly surprised by the amount of money that was involved in putting toward broadband and specifically rural broadband. And thus, that's why I'm sitting here in front of the Maryland Broadband Cooperative logo. We are going to work hard to get all the way out to every rural area that we can get done with this 3 years of funding. So,
John, I'm looking forward to that because our broadband in Queenstown is very spotty.
and Charlotte's been experiencing the same thing from time to time. Even though I live in a neighborhood that was, you know, is very well wired, we have a lot of school teachers and a lot of school kids, and certain times of the day, it's really gets slow. So,
Yes, it does.
So I came into the office today so that I would have broadband for this meeting. I'm also in Queenstown, Trish, but the only reason that I have broadband at my office, which is directly next to, you know, Royal Farms, which we know they have broadband, is because they accidentally signed a contract for one of the tenants based on their home address as opposed to the office address, and they had to honor that contract and run the cable here.
That's awesome.
So that's a funny story, but you know, I would just say that the funding is absolutely great, huge win, but our work is not done, right? We need to continue to work on the planning and the needs assessment and the rollout of that. And so I would say that would be my one comment. Funding's good, but we need to use the funding, right?
Perfect. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Lindsay, and I completely agree.
Can I make a little commercial? Chop Tank Fiber will be doing our ribbon cutting ceremony and launching our first customer next Thursday on April the 15th. So hopefully we'll keep rolling.
Sweet.
I think you might be one of the earliest ones out of the gate, so congratulations.
Thanks. We're super excited about it.
All right, that next down to the Rural Maryland Foundation is Dan here. Or Charlotte, do you want to cover that?
Dan's here.
Dan's here.
Hi, Dan.
Dan just couldn't find his mute button. Sorry. So the foundation is, we're moving right along as we normally do. Had some recent discussions about our strategic plan, which we would like to pursue. And rather than investing a lot of money and a lot of time and, you know, people's volunteer efforts and all that, and go through what what most people would ordinarily think of as a strategic planning effort with a 3-day retreat and all that. We're gonna try to replicate what the council did a couple years ago and have a more abbreviated process. That will probably, hopefully, begin here fairly soon this summer, and hopefully we'll have results to share with people and gain comment and consolidation and confirmation and all that by late summer. Then we can move forward. I would characterize the main issue for the foundation as being just how aggressive do we want to be in maintaining a independent stream of revenue for the benefit of the council. Currently we meet our stated mission, which is essentially to serve as a backup agency for the council. And then to do whatever else we can along the way as opportunity arises. And that's worked well for the history of both organizations. But I think the foundation has demonstrated that, you know, it has legs of its own. And should we start thinking of ourselves as something more than just a backup plan? And if we go down that path, then, well, what does that path look like? So I think that captured it in a nutshell. There's plenty of foundation members on the call. They can revise my comments if they would care to. Or Charlotte, I believe I'm asking Charlotte to help me with my memory. I believe that's the main topic of interest from the foundation point of view at this time. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yep.
Question?
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Anderson.
Yes, Dan, this is Heidi Anderson. Can you just describe briefly for us, those of us who may be new, what that strategic planning process looked like? You mentioned that it was done a few years ago, but I wasn't here then, so I'm just curious. Thank you.
Charlotte's going to do a much better job, or John will do a much better job of summarizing it, but
thank you, Dan.
The process we used last year is we did a survey of board members and non-board members. We went outside the organization with a short survey about, you know, what they thought the strengths and weaknesses of the council were, what we should be doing more of, which we should be doing less of. And then we brought in a facilitator to have with the board retreat where we had board members discussing these at length. I think we had 2 sessions of that, and then presented a plan before the board. And then, so it'll be a similar type process, but I don't think we're going to do the big survey. And I hope it doesn't take more than 1 or 2 meetings.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
having participated in it, I would say that it was very efficient. It got right to the point very quickly, and the facilitator was excellent. She picked up on the points that matter instantly and wouldn't let anybody off the hook until resolutions were formulated. And I think it's been an effective strategic plan. I'm really hoping to replicate that for the foundation.
I agree. We did meet in person for most of that. And it would be my objective to hope that we're going to be adequate to meet in person. The discussions are a lot easier when you're right around the table with the people who are having the discussion. All right, I don't think we have anything else on the Rural Maryland Foundation. Agriculture Committee report from Matt Truffaut.
Good afternoon. Nothing to report. I've reached out to MDA to see if there was going to be a GEICA meeting scheduled in the near future, and one has not been scheduled. So we'll look, keep that on the horizon to see when that will be held. But nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you. Mike Telke, the Joint Planning and Development Committee.
The committee, what's left of it, met last month. And as was mentioned previously by Susan, the committee, I think, is taking a more, I don't want to say aggressive, but more engaged role in reviewing the existing strategic plan. Usually the committee only gets engaged when it's time to create a new strategic plan. But we basically started thinking that we need to begin to do a better job of reviewing the existing plan on a regular basis. Are we achieving the objectives that are outlined in the existing plan, and where should we be emphasizing ourselves going forward? So we did come up with some recommendations as to priorities relative to RMPIF and MERDAF for the grant review committee, mainly in response to trying to get the organization to be more responsive to what I think Charlotte was advocating should be the emphasis of the grant funding, especially as it relates to responding to the General Assembly and what their priorities are, but also trying to be sure we satisfy the needs of the members and the organizations out there that apply for the funding. So we think that will do a better job of focusing and targeting where the grant funds are allocated going forward. We're also, again, reviewing step by step. We're sort of being incremental in reviewing the existing strategic plan. And we also agreed we would start to meet more frequently in order to do that, in order to keep the staff and the organization on better track, so that, again, the impact of the organization is achieved. In closing, I will suggest that I need to go out with a plea that if there's anybody out there that is interested in participating in the committee, it's pretty lean right now. It's pretty much regurgitating the same people that are on the executive committee that attend these meetings. So it'd be great to get some additional voices and perspective involved in the conversation relative to planning for the organization's present and future. So again, please email Charlotte and let her know if you have any interest in participating on this committee. It's not a big burden, but it is an opportunity for you to have a pretty significant voice in the organization. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, and I would say that having spent some time there, it doesn't require a lot of time, but it does, your input is really valuable. Sometimes an outside perspective can really have a big input. So we appreciate anybody who would like to volunteer. Thank you, Mike. Charlotte, we're up to the executive director's report.
Okay, just wanted to backtrack for the Joint Planning and Development Committee. We'll be releasing that survey. We'll release a survey to the membership regarding the 2022 rural issues. And so you'll be on the lookout for that this summer. And then for my executive director's report, we are still, the staff, we are still doing mandatory telework. We meet daily, every day. You'll see our activity reports are included in the materials for all the staff. We are planning for the Rural Summit, so save the date, December 1st and 2nd. It'd be 2 half days this year. at the DoubleTree in an Hilton Hotel in Annapolis. I'm getting ready to sign the contract. And if for some reason we cannot host it in person, we'll get a credit and then in December of the next year. So we'll be hosting it December 1st or 2nd regardless, but hopefully, cross our fingers, we'll be able to do it in person. This plan, like Mike's call, we're always looking for people who want to be a part of the planning committee. The planning committee will next meet on May 27th via Zoom. So if you want to be a part of that, please join us. The next item is, as part of the strategic plan, we've identified that we need to do a better job in analyzing the impact of our grant programs. And we had talked to a couple, had a proposal from the Regional Economic Modeling Institute, RMC, on economic modeling related to our grant programs. And so I drafted an RFP, request for proposals, that we sent out this morning, so that we could go out and solicit that technical assistance from organizations. So I would like you all to look at that, and then if possible, the decisions I have would go before the RMC Executive Committee. So I'm asking that the board look at this RFP, and if anything, if you could approve that the RMC Executive Committee review this and the process in selecting an appropriate vendor for that technical assistance. And this is to do an economic impact on our grant programs, the Maryland Agriculture, Education, and Rural Development Assistance Fund, as well as the Rural Maryland Prosperity Investment Fund.
Charlotte, you did mention the legislators have been asking for an actual technical analysis of the impact of our grants, right? And that's what.
Yeah, they've been looking, one has been pushing us to do more analysis related to the grants. And I think if we're going to be pushing forward with additional funding or looking at the statute of Rural Maryland Prosperity Investment Fund, I think we need that information to help support the case for any additional funds or any additional new programs we might add to it in the future.
Okay. So we need a motion to allow the executive committee to review the responses to the RFP and make a selection. The alternative is that all of you will have to review it and vote on it at some future point of time. But we're looking for a motion to allow the executive board to review it and make a.
So moved. This is Heidi Anderson.
Thank you.
I'll second Susan O'Neill.
Thank you, Susan. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. And I think are we done with the top agenda there? Is there anything else, Charlotte, before
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yeah.
Okay.
Always happy to answer any questions, and thank you all for participating in all our.
See, the next thing on the agenda was new business. Were you going to show the territory map on the screen?
Oh, yeah. And Mary Buffington with the RGC is here to help. I don't know, Mary, if you wanted to step in here, or I can share my screen to show the territory map.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I can share mine, Charlotte. I think I
Okay.
might be having better internet than you are possibly.
And to explain this to the board, RMC is this territory map that it's just a JPEG in the office that we have. And so we were trying to update that so that it's a little more interactive and just, you know, the folks can understand when we talk about rural, what we mean by rural.
Yes, exactly. So this was an attempt to create a visual for people to use that was a little bit more science-based than just well, we have this image that was created and we don't really know how it was created. So when you land on this page, you do see this splash screen for the RMC. This is the visual that's being used. We only did this analysis on the more urban counties. So any of the rural counties are in this green color. I need to move my Zoom so I can see everything. So here on the legend, you can see how we have differentiated these. The rural counties are this green color. And then as you move into the more urban areas, it gets to be this darker pink. So you have the semi-rural, suburban, and then urban county or urban areas. If you zoom into the map, you can see the definition a little bit better. And if you zoom in a bit more, you will begin to see the address points. So this is the science that was used to develop this map. So yes, if you zoom in close enough, you'll begin to see the address points. So this is an address point for each of the more urban counties in Maryland. We used a cluster analysis to determine the range of urban to rural territory. It is an average. So these hexagons are each what you would consider one cell size. I think if you look at them, we've dissolved them so they're only one area, not just the individual hexagons. That was a little overwhelming. But you can see when you zoom around the areas that have more address points. So these more clustered areas of addresses do have this more urban view. And then as you move out, you get to the lighter pink suburban, and then finally the semi-rural and rural areas of Maryland. One question we did want to confirm with the board was the colors that are used in the map. We're using the pinkish colors to show the urban, suburban, and semi-rural areas. It was requested to have the rural counties in this green color, so we've adjusted that. But that is something that we were looking for feedback on.
Any comments from the audience? Questions?
So Marion, this is Ann Hurston Strang. Are you doing it by county? Is that why like Northern Baltimore County is semi-rural?
Yes, so only the 6 counties here were included in the analysis.
Okay.
So maybe to clarify a little bit, the Rural Maryland Council handles or is authorized to grant in the 18 defined rural counties, Charlotte.
Yes.
But we can grant, our grants can spill into the urban counties if they're rural partnerships, but we cannot grant, fully grant into the urban areas. The one area that I would point out, if you could maybe zero in on the southern Prince George's County area. There you'll see that in the southern Prince George's, which is between Charles and Calvert County, that is what I would call, I drive through it all the time. It's extremely rural. And we've been trying to, unsuccessfully so far, but to increase broadband out of our Useville office in Useville area where Maryland Broadband Cooperative has a point of presence into that lower area. And the project would primarily be in Charles County, but it may include the very rural parts of southern Prince George's County. So possibly with the new funding that's coming along, there may be other partnerships. We found it very beneficial when talking particularly to legislators. For instance, in our area, we have now Senator Michael Jackson, which includes Prince George's and Northern Calvert County. And soon you'll see Rachel Jones, who is also the delegate from Northern Calvert and Prince George's County. Partnerships are helpful in getting funding and in helping people that are rural but live in an urban county. Do we have any other questions? Well, I think that I urge you to, we'll get this all up and directly linked into our website. It may be very useful for you to, particularly if you're next to an urban county, and ways you can help people that are actually very, very rural and form partnerships. Charlotte, back to you.
Okay. I did want to mention, we did get outreach from the comptroller's office that he would like to schedule a 45-minute business roundtable with our membership. I wanted to know from the board if that was something of interest. They were looking to do it end April, early May.
Anybody?
Hey,
Charlotte,
Charlotte.
this
This is Shelby. I would say that I know he's going around to the various groups, that he has also scheduled one with SMATIC, and he has scheduled one with Grow and Fortify. So it seems like a good opportunity to get on the radar with the various priorities of each group, especially considering, where he might end up in the future.
Charlotte, I think there would be this is Weta. I think this would be an excellent idea to reach out to particularly my FMMP farmers and have a discussion with him.
Okay, so it sounds like there's interest in scheduling something. All right. We will be back with details. The next items are the event videos. Just wanted to be cognizant of time. We had some videos from the events that we hosted the last couple events, and so if you want to bear with me, I'll see if I can play these videos for you all. All right, that's good. All right.
Charlotte, is it a link? Do you want to send it to some in the chat and have somebody else share?
Yeah, let me see if I think I got it now.
Okay. I just didn't know if your internet was cooperating.
It is in the video. Here we go. So
virtually
can you hear it?
Maryland Day. When I was
It's really quiet.
Almost 6 years ago, I promised that the war on rural Maryland was over. We said that there would no longer be a disconnect between
We can't hear him, Charlotte.
Okay. Can somebody else? It's in the link is in the agenda.
Whoever shares it, make sure to optimize the audio.
I could hear it. It was very low, but I could hear it clearly.
Megan, are you able to play it a little better?
Let me see if I can do it. One moment.
Sorry, my internet's just not doing
Yeah.
well today.
Also, make sure to click share sound when you're sharing.
Sure. When they're getting that put together, one thing I did forget to mention in the agriculture committee is I did see the registration link go out for the Cyber Ag Symposium. I didn't know if Mike Telke wanted to put a plug in for that here real quick.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Matt. So yeah, if you haven't seen the notices thus far, we have a Cyber Ag Symposium next week on Wednesday. You can get the agenda and register at cyberag.org. This will be our second event on Cyber Ag. Again, it's about leveraging our agriculture community along with the cybersecurity sector. There's a lot of problems that cybersecurity sector can solve in ag as we become, there's greater utilization of precision ag, greater use of sensors, greater development of data.
Good morning. It's an honor.
Sorry, Mike.
That's
Please
okay.
go ahead.
And so I'll be real quick in finishing up. And so the whole point is to try to connect these two sectors together, create some understanding and awareness of what the opportunities and possible solutions are. So it's a good agenda. We have the Lieutenant Governor giving us some keynote remarks at the beginning, but we've got Cortiva participating. We've got the FBI. There's a whole litany of subject matter experts that should be of interest. So please take a look, cyberag.org. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to try to play this.
Honor to join you virtually for Rural Maryland Day. When I was sworn in as your governor almost 6 years ago, I promised that the war on rural Maryland was over. We said that there would no longer be a disconnect between Annapolis and the rural areas of our state, and we meant what we said. Each and every day, members of our rural communities are making Maryland a better place with their outstanding stewardship of the land, preservation of the Chesapeake Bay, production of food and materials, and through their vital contributions to our state economy. And that is why this day is so important. It's a day to recognize you and your voice in rural Maryland, to inform and connect with policy, to make your communities better. On behalf of a grateful state, I'm proud to proclaim today, February 11th, 2021, as Rural Maryland Day. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this special day, and I wish you all the best for a successful conference. Good morning.
And then we have the Senate resolution. I wanted to thank Senator Eckert and Delegate Cherie Sample Hughes. They sponsored a Senate resolution and a House resolution on behalf of the RMC 25th year anniversary. And I did want to mention that Senator Michael Jackson also sent us a citation in recognition of the 25th year anniversary of the RMC.
Okay, I will share that video.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 25th anniversary of the Maryland Rural Council. And for those of you who were here with me 25 years ago, this started out as the Maryland Rural Forum. After about 10 years, we weren't sure if it was going to continue in existence, but today it is more robust than ever as it interfaces with our regional councils, focusing on agribusiness, entrepreneurship, and business and economic development for the rural areas, and has been a champion for rural broadband. So I would just have the reading of the resolution, please.
Clerk will read the resolution.
Be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations
to Rural Maryland Council in recognition of the celebration of the 25th anniversary of the Rural Maryland Council. Your combined efforts in the dedication in improving the quality, preserving the rural area of Maryland are commendable. Congratulations.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. With unanimous support, the Senate of Maryland celebrates the 25th anniversary of Rural Maryland Council for its incredible efforts to improve the quality and preserving the rural areas of Maryland. We thank them for their service. Thank you, Rural Maryland Council. Hopefully watching virtually to have been celebrated. All right, let's go ahead.
Okay, and then our final video was from Maryland Day, which was, we hosted a grab and go lunch for legislators, and we had lots of great turnout. So we have another just short remarks from the Lieutenant Governor who joined us that day.
Just before you hit this, Charlotte, I wanted to say, I think we have one of our early Rural Maryland Council executive directors on this meeting today, and I wanted to recognize him. A few of you might know him. He's Steve McHenry. Steve, would you like to take a bow?
Thank you, John. That was unexpected. Appreciate that. I can't tell you how pleased I am at how far the council has progressed. Not only during the years I was there 9 years as the executive director, but in the years since. The council has just continued to do great work, and it's really a tribute to the great leadership of the council and the executive board and the fabulous staff currently led by Charlotte Davis. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Steve. You can go ahead, Charlotte.
Megan's doing these. It's my internet. So bad.
All right.
A little bit worse.
Well, I'd like to welcome you, Lieutenant Governor. Yes, here we can. But you know, I met you first time at the Southern Maryland Ag Development Commission, and then I had the pleasure of introducing you at the Rural Maryland convention. It was about 16 months ago. Okay. And the theme of the convention was rural resilience. And I didn't think at that time that it would be about 4 months later and we would be going into lockdown and all the things that are with that. Right. So I just want to say the rural areas are a great part of the whole Maryland. We're here on Maryland Day. And because of Zoom, I've watched way more hearings than I've ever watched before. And a few weeks ago, I was listening to the Eastern Shore, and one of the things I picked up that I didn't know was in 2020, the Eastern Shore produced 570 million chickens. And in the middle of a pandemic, under very trying circumstances, the rural areas really stepped up. We've produced more meat in Southern Maryland, a lot of beef, a lot of pork. The Eastern Shore has done a great job, and we're just here to kind of celebrate for the fact that the rural areas were here to support suburbanites like me and the urban areas of Maryland. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, John, thank you very much, and I'm glad to be here with the Rural Maryland Council. As you mentioned several months ago, pre-pandemic, you kind of measure things pre-pandemic. When I was much younger, you would measure things, when you would look at apartments, particularly if you were in certain cities, they'd say pre-war. The building was built pre-war, meaning World War II. Now, I'm not that old, but now everything is pre-pandemic. But, the governor and I, very much appreciate the rural communities our ag communities, the impact of the ag and the producers, the watermen, the aquaculture, and the related industries, the impact they have on the state, not just economically and job-wise. I mean, there are some 90,000 or more jobs that are directly affected. I believe it's even higher than that when you get to some of the ancillary businesses. But also, the individuals that are in these industries are protecting the environment, because they have to have a good environment to be able to get the resources from the land and the water, and to keep our open space, which is habitat for a lot of the wildlife. Some of the wildlife can be invasive, like the blue crab, the blue catfish over there, which the kids are going to think is crab cake when you start giving it to them in the schools. But at the same time, it's a significant impact on our state, both from a financial standpoint, but from an environmental impact, from a positive way. And so, the governor said when we came into office, the war on rural Maryland is over, and we continue that throughout our administration. And we believe that future administrations are going to learn the lessons that prior administrations didn't understand. But I think most Marylanders at this point do understand the importance. And the pandemic, I think, really showed it. Like you said, the production of food, from the standpoint being able to get food delivered, but also, as the secretary will tell you, the enjoyment of the great outdoors. People being shut in for periods of time, then made it a point to get out to our state parks, which many of them are in our rural communities. And so I just want to again say thank you to the rural Maryland and everything that you do, and continue to support your efforts. But thank you. And so I see some of the legislators are coming in. Those who do come over and grab your fish and all, make sure they support you. Okay? Ask the question. Some of them don't. I see some of them walking away that don't. So then that's good. But the ones who are coming in and eating, make sure they support your issues. Right, Delegate Branch? Right, sir. He grew up on chicken farm. I did. Yes. So he understands. All right, thank you, Jen.
They told me that they had to limit the amount of money I could spend on giving you a memento, but I found this on the internet and I got it for $11, if anybody's asked. And it's been up in my office for a few months. It's something that's been around, we've been paying attention to. And what I have here is maintain social distancing, keep a cow's distance apart, and I can assure you that when I take my cow to the grocery store, everybody stays 6 feet away.
All right, well, thank you. I need to share a story then when you mention cows. I know you get somebody, or a politician talks all the time. We got a wonderful letter from a youngster a couple of years ago. And Heather, we talk about it all the time. My family even talks about the letter that came in. And it's these two kids who had, 4-H animals that they were taking to the fair. And unfortunately, it came in after the local fair had already passed. And they were inviting me to come and see their animals. And the youngest son, at the end of his, please come out, he said, Mommy said it's time to feed the cattle now, so bye. That's how he ended it. So when I get off the phone with my kids, that they're adults, I usually say, Mommy said it's time to feed the cattle now, so bye. But we're planning to go out to their farm in the very near future. We're making arrangements now to go out and see the kids. So I'll take this with me.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
You have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Well, I hope some of you enjoyed that as much as I did, actually being with the Lieutenant Governor.
Looked like it was fun.
It was a good time. Charlotte, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Do you want to mention about the number of elected officials that actually came out? It was an amazing number.
We had a number of them. In fact, we couldn't keep track of them all. There's a list included in the materials. I think it was over 70 that we had that came by at some point during that time and more. We couldn't even keep track of them all. It was a great event. And then last thing on the business outreach calendar, we just it's been delayed. So, and then we do a number of other events around the state. If folks know of some that are that may be happening, we're always interested in getting out to the community. So, and you're all, if you see any of these and we're going to be there, you're also welcome to join us. Mako is coming up in August. We will be there. As well as some of the bigger events like Autumn Glory out in Garrett County. I don't know, they don't do Chicken Festival anymore, but those are the types of events that we will do. So please take a look. If you know of any events that we should be at, please let us know.
All right, thank you, Charlotte. Our guest speaker will be here shortly. So I'm going to rearrange the agenda just a little bit. I would spend a little bit of time talking about our grantee spotlight. And it was brought to my attention that maybe a few people didn't know what some of the Tri-County councils were doing. And I thought maybe we kick off with a little talking about what the Tri-County councils are doing. And then we'd like to have individual people who have done RMC grants talk about their grants. So first, I'm going to call on Greg Padgham. Maybe he can talk about something he's doing that's got me pretty excited on the Eastern Shore at the Lower Shore Regional Council.
Okay, thank you, John. If I have a couple of minutes, I entered the regional council world officially in January of 2019, and my predecessor, Mike Pennington, had left everything sailing smoothly. So against this comfortable backdrop, I was at leisure to look for the next sustainable and what I would call impactful contribution to the Tri-County Council. I looked at the bylaws. I determined the Tri-County Council is the sole entity, public and private, in the state of Maryland, charged with promoting the name and economic development of the 3 rural Lower Shore counties, and in addition, having a special relationship with the 3 Lower Shore Economic Development offices, the 3 Lower Shore County Tourism offices, the 2 campuses included in the University of Maryland system and the community college, the 3 vocational technical schools, and the 9 primary chambers of commerce on the Lower Shore. So all of these entities is responsible in charge with this. Each of these entities is responsible in charge with maybe a city or county or an industry, sometimes with an ancillary regional bent, but the Tri-County Council decided to be an adjunct office or a resource or a promoter of them all, the truly regional electronic platform that was up to the task. Thus, the idea of lesmd.net was born. This is 2019. So what do? First of all, we determined the project must run through everything through a regional filter. Everything must show a vibrant rural character. We have to brand it. We did. It must identify key aspects of the economy and formulate a methodology based on showing a nexus between those aspects of the economy. Extensive communication with educational economic development professionals in order to do this. It has to form a regional branding and economic development committee composed of the SEDS committee, which is already has all of the economic development professionals on the Lower Shore and the voting members of the TCC. That will then, to that committee will be presented format, analytics, and then the committee will be navigated on a trip through the site every quarter and take recommendations. We'll ask them to challenge the methodology as well as the physical structure of the site. Then we have to be prepared to take it on the road, trade shows, economic development forums, highway billboards, promote the strengths of the rural region of Maryland. So it's all about content, 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 and then nexus, 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 or it's just static content. There's got to be a nexus between everything. So the primary menu has several aspects to it. One is in session, regional impact of selected legislation in 5 categories. Another is economic engines, 4 major categories with 17 subcategories. Another one is emphasis on education, 3 categories with 6 institutions. And all of this weave a nexus to specific categories and subcategories of the economic engines that have been identified. Another aspect of the primary menu is projects in perspective, 4 categories of regional projects with a total of 12 individual projects, drawing a nexus again back to the economic engine categories and subcategories. Then there's the secondary menu, a community vibrant. Another aspect is entrepreneurship and innovation. Another aspect is regional stars. Another aspect is maps. Another aspect is online shopping, LESMD branded products. Again, with the secondary menu is regional, a nexus to specific educational programs and economic engine categories or subcategories that are identified in the primary menu. There's frequent links to sources and resources. And the design of this was almost entirely in-house by the TCC. All updates are internally done. It's sustainable, and it's used for 2 years in a row. It's used RMPIP funds to put this together. Projects for the future to add to this, possible commercial real estate and the impact of that on the 3 lower shore counties. Statistical updates utilizing Delmarva Index, which was a jointly funded project between the Mid-Shore Regional Council and the Lower Shore Tri-County Council to form economic dashboards using the services of ESRGC. So I just want to say that it's been, the funds from RMPIP have been critical to this. It's coming along, it's slow, but we knew it would be because it's extensive and it's comprehensive. And we're trying to show we had to develop the methodology and do everything in-house. So thank you again to the committee and everyone who's had a part in this project.
Thank you, Greg. I know that you guys are extremely, you're the largest of the Tri-County councils, and Lower Shore, the whole Lower Shore and the Somerset and all those counties down there, they're lucky to have you guys tie the counties together much better than we do on this side of the bay, but keep up the great work, and I look forward to going through your website.
Thank you.
All right. So does anyone else like to talk? Would they like to talk about their project? We have a few more minutes here.
Hi, John. This is Carmela Davis Watkins with the Ivy and Pearls of Southern Maryland Community Charity. And we have hosted a series of webinars on breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. And our 3rd seminar will be on April the 20th at 7 p.m. And you can go to our website, ipsmcc.org, to get the login information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Lorianne Sales, council member from the city of Gaithersburg. It's my first time attending the RMC meeting, so I'm very happy to join everyone. Our meeting for the Breakfast Club, the Gaithersburg Up-County Breakfast Club, in honor of Earth Month, I just put a link in the chat. It's actually going to be next Friday, 7:30 to 9, and we'll be focusing on agribusiness and climate change. The ag reserve and ag industry has played such an important role over the past year in responding to the pandemic and food insecurity needs. And so I know there was also a lot of talk in Montgomery County about a zoning tax amendment to put solar panels in the ag reserve. And so thought it would be a timely discussion and hope you all can join us. And my contact information is in the link as well. And I'll be collaborating with the executive director of the Healthcare Initiative Foundation, Crystal Townsend, who provided lots of grants over the last year for the pandemic. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you could join us.
Happy to join, of course.
Do we have anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to say something. I'm Susan Banks from Dorchester County Economic Development, and I wanted to thank Charlotte and the board for investing in the Eastern Shore Innovation Center again with the Rural Maryland grant. This grant's going to expand the Eastern Shore Innovation Center's wet lab to be able to support the necessary infrastructure for post-harvest hemp processing. Hopefully we're going to get a press release out soon with some pictures. And I want to invite everyone, or anyone I should say, that can come this summer and tour to see the new equipment and learn about the expansion and capacity. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else on board?
I would like to say something. I put it in the comments. So Howard County Farm Bureau hosts a Christmas parade every year to feed the hungry. And so far over the last 10 years, we've raised over $123,000. This year, we raised over $19,000. So it's in the comment section, and we support 2 local food banks, Farmers and Hunters Feeding the Hungry, and the Lisbon Volunteer Fire Company.
Thank you, and welcome for coming to visit. Do we have anyone else?
John, I'd just like to thank Steve McHenry and everybody else that worked with Steve to get the the rapid relief funds allocated towards some of our ag industries. In particular, I'm thinking about forestry. No surprise there. But just to give you an idea of the impact that this particular fund has provided, Steve was able to allocate $750,000, and the grant program is still open, and Steve can correct me if I'm wrong, but we are just shy of having $2 million of requests. So that's over twice as much interest in the programming as we have ability to provide. I think when the dust settles, anybody that looks over the shoulder of the program and looks at the kinds of uses of these funds are going to be very, very impressed with the ingenuity and the job creation and the value added that this small amount of financial injection is providing to Maryland's economy statewide. It's really, really impressive. This wouldn't have had happened if it hadn't been for the Rural Maryland Council, the Tri-County Councils, Marbidco, you know, all of our teams. So I just wanted to point that out and thank everybody involved.
Thank you. And Dan, I do want to say that every time I went over to Calvert County twice this week, and both times I got stuck behind a log truck. And every time I get stuck behind a log truck coming from Calvert County to the Amish sawmill, I think of you. So,
well, thank you, John. So the way I look at log trucks, so we take these trees that grow whether we want them to or not, right? We cut a few down, we turn those round things into square product, we put that product on a truck, send that truck out of state, and then another truck comes back with bucket loads of money on it. And then we just repeat. It's a wonderful system.
Well, it'd be great if we got it all more processing in the state. And
yes,
we can
we have room to grow.
Dan, may I say something, John?
Yes.
Dan and I have been in contact a lot the last few days regarding one of the aspects of our regional economic development website. You're identifying economic engines. One of them is agriculture, and then agriculture has several subcategories, and one page is forestry. And so we've been talking about this a lot. So log trucks are mentioned, or at least log trucks. So I appreciate them too. I think of Dan whenever I see one.
Well, that's fun. Anyway, thank John. Thank you for the opportunity to, bring this up to the group.
Charlotte, do we have time for a few more?
Well, Rachel's here as well as the senator.
Okay, well, I guess then I'm going to turn it over to Rachel. Rachel Jones she's probably the newest delegate in the legislature still. And she and I have been moving in the same circles for a number of years. And we are just so proud that she's moved up to be a legislator. And Rachel, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you all for the invitation to just be here with you at your executive board meeting today. Just a little bit of background. So I've worked with John and Charlotte for the last 8 years. So my former job, or still technically for another month, is as the Southern Maryland liaison for U.S. Senator Ben Cardin. And I thoroughly enjoyed having an opportunity to advocate for Southern Maryland in that tenure. And so it's an absolute honor now to be able to serve in the Maryland legislature, to continue supporting rural Maryland and ensuring that residents in our rural areas are still getting all the things that they need. So making sure that I'm fighting for expansion of rural broadband services, because, one of the things that we see is oftentimes, Central Maryland and some of their needs are addressed or a little bit more openly. And I think that while those parts of Maryland also have challenges with access to broadband, rural Maryland is, seeing those same challenges and sometimes a little bit worse, because someone who lives in and around the Beltway may be able to catch a bus to a McDonald's or a library somewhere where they can get access to a hotspot and still do their schooling or things like that. And some of the folks in our rural counties do not have that same capability to just hop on mass transit and have access to broadband services. And so I'm happy to continue making sure that we strive for broadband expansion throughout the state, and also making sure that we are fighting for our farmers. I want to continue to make sure that we get bond funding for the Southern Maryland Meat Processing Center and all of the needs of our farmers and our agricultural community in Southern Maryland. And so I'm just so pleased to be able to push for these things on the state level. And I know that there were several bills that were listed as a priority for the RMC this year. And so I've been happy to support HB 123. That's the Preserve Telehealth Access Act, to make sure that folks in our rural areas are still able to continue to have access to telehealth appointments post-COVID. I'm happy to support the Maryland Medical Assistance Program bill. That's SB 556, cross-filed as HB 191. So there's so many great bills that RMC is supporting this year, and I'm happy to say that I am with you in support of all of those. I made sure that upon my arrival here that I joined the Rural Maryland Caucus so that I can make sure that I am standing with the rest of our rural communities and pushing for the legislation that we need. And so I don't want to belabor you or take up too much time. And I do believe that I get the honor of introducing Senator Van Hollen. And so you all know Senator Van Hollen has spent decades in public service. He started here in the Maryland legislature, where I'm currently having the honor to serve. And then he was the congressman for the 8th legislative district, federal district. And so now he is one of our US senators and doing a great job alongside the rest of the Maryland delegation and Senator Cardin in fighting for Marylanders and fighting for people across the nation. And so I am pleased to introduce Senator Van Hollen.
Well, thank you, Delegate Jones, and we're just thrilled to have you in the Maryland General Assembly. Thank you for all the great work you did as one of Senator Cardin's ambassadors. And thank you for that kind introduction. It's great to be here with the Rural Maryland Council. And John, great to see you. Thank you for your leadership. And to Charlotte, thank you for all the work you do as Executive Director. And I should also introduce some of the members of my team who are with us. Melissa Kelly, for those of you on the Eastern Shore, you know Melissa, she's our ambassador there. Jalen Money, who works on Anne Arundel in Southern Maryland, is with us. And Nan Mann, who covers Western Maryland, are some of our team members that have joined us today. And I really look forward to your questions about the various pieces of legislation that have passed at the federal level. Over the last year now, beginning with the CARES Act, really 6 bills altogether. And then, of course, most recently, the American Rescue Plan that does have substantial resources for families, for workers, for industries that have been particularly hard hit, like the restaurant industry, like some of the entertainment venues around the state and around the country. And of course, a significant amount of funding that goes directly to county governments and municipal governments, in addition to the monies that go to the state of Maryland. And the purpose here, of course, is to defeat this COVID-19 virus once and for all, so we can put it in the rear of your mirror, to help those communities and individuals who have been hardest hit, but also to give our economy a boost as we come out of this. And one of the assessments that was made was that this kind of package was needed to prevent us from having to live with long-term unemployment for a very long time. You know, the Congressional Budget Office, which is a nonpartisan entity, informed us that if we didn't take additional action, we'd be living with higher levels of unemployment into the year 2025. And so the hope is that the resources in this bill, again, for families, for small businesses, for local governments, will help avoid that problem, and that will get people back to work as we also beat the pandemic. So with respect to the areas of the bill that relate specifically to rural areas, and Delegate Jones, of course, mentioned the broadband issue. And I do want to emphasize that, because we provided substantial additional resources for broadband in the December bill, as well as additional funds for broadband in the American Rescue Plan. The American Rescue Plan broadband piece was primarily to make sure we continue and expand connecting our students to the internet as we continue to have a lot of hybrid learning, but also ultimately to close what, even before the pandemic began, we called the homework gap, which was students not being able to access the internet to do homework assignments. And that was a big part of the digital divide that we hope to close. And now I should mention, with respect to broadband, in terms of finishing the job and making sure that we have 100% of American families and individuals and small businesses connected, that of course is a big piece of the American Jobs Plan that you've seen rolled out by President Biden. And we look forward to working with all of you as we try to hammer out the details of that. Because again, the goal is to make sure at the end of the day that we treat access to broadband in the 21st century like we treated access to electricity in the 20th century. That it's an important, it's important that everybody have access to that in the 21st century. Delegate Jones also mentioned the farming parts of these bills, and that has been a continuing part of them all, beginning with the CARES Act. And I welcome any feedback all of you may be getting from our farming community, but there were lots of issues, of course, in the supply chains early on. Some of those have improved, but there's also substantial help to try to help farmers who are struggling through this pandemic through loss of sales to be able to weather the storm and come out strong on the other side. For those on the Eastern Shore involved in the seafood industry, we've been pushing very hard to get the new Secretary of Homeland Security to issue H-2B visas, which are essential to the strength and success of that industry. And we anticipate in the coming days, I hope we're not disappointed. We're anticipating an important announcement there with respect to more visas being issued to address, the seasonal challenges of the seafood industry in Maryland and around the Chesapeake Bay. There's so many pieces to the American Rescue Bill, and there may be a lot of questions regarding to the next proposal that's been laid out by the Biden administration, the American Jobs Bill. I'll just end on the American Jobs Bill on infrastructure, because I think everyone on this call recognizes that, at least in Washington, it's become unfortunately a running joke that we always talk about dealing with our national infrastructure, but have not yet delivered in terms of a major step forward. We sort of piece together funding year by year for some of our infrastructure programs, the highway program, but that has been underfunded. This bill focuses on everything from roads to bridges to our ports to water and sewer to broadband, as I mentioned, and many other pieces of what I think we all would agree are important parts of 21st century infrastructure. It includes additional funds for modernizing our electric grid and moving toward a more clean energy future. So lots of pieces there as well. There's going to be a robust debate, as you well know, about how this all plays out. But I want to just say in closing here, we welcome your input and ideas on all of these matters. And I remember conversations last year with many of you, and one of the things we heard was it would be important to deliver help directly to counties and municipal governments, and that's what we did in the American Rescue Plan, and much more flexible funding as part of that effort. So let me turn it back over to all of you, and happy to try and answer any questions that you may have. Well, I should say one other thing, especially with respect to Western Maryland. The ARC funding has been absolutely essential over the years. That's not just emergency funding, but that for the Appalachian regional area in terms of economic development, transportation projects. And I'm pleased with being able to not just maintain that funding on a bipartisan basis, but increase it. So let me wrap up there and turn it back over to all of you.
Do we have any questions out of the chat Charlotte? Or do we have anyone that wants to go to a direct question of the senator?
I didn't see any questions in the chat, but I did have a question. Given that we just received a block grant for broadband funding, what could we expect in the infrastructure plan related to additional broadband funding?
Right. So the idea on the additional piece is much more of the build out of the full infrastructure. If you look at the mapping that's been done right now in Maryland, around the country, the way it's been done is, and I'll take an example in Cecil County because we've heard directly from them. There are areas in Cecil County where maybe a few houses within a particular census tract have access to broadband and are wired for broadband, that none of the other houses in that tract have access. And yet it's counted right now the way as that whole census tract having coverage. The goal of the next round is to make sure, as I said, that we have a 100% coverage. And that obviously is essential to rural areas, urban areas. There are also suburban areas within the state that don't have adequate connections. So the next step would be to really finish the build out. The monies that were in the December bill and the more recent American Rescue Plan bill are important. They're in some ways designed to help during this emergency period for people who don't have hotspot devices that are necessary to give them coverage. For students where the families didn't have enough devices for all the students at home to get access. And that obviously is all part of being connected. You obviously need a device to be connected, but the part of broadband in the infrastructure bill, the American Jobs Bill, is to really, again, finish the job for the country.
Okay. I guess there's one thing that we're finding out in these rural areas are that a lot of the counties and the elected officials, they're not really broadband savvy. Here at the Tri-County Council, we're setting up a committee called the BDAC, where we're bringing the technical people together so that the elected officials can make informed decisions. There's a significant amount of money coming down from the state in the near future, and it's from the federal government. Thank you. But earlier there was a discussion here that's very important that we make sure that we actually produce the results that the people in the very rural areas are expecting. And anything we can do to make that happen, either through the Rural Maryland Council or the Tri-County Councils, to make sure that good decisions are made at the local level, we'd be very supportive of that.
No, I appreciate your mentioning that. And I did see that the governor and the presiding officers in the General Assembly made the announcement that they were going to use some of the over $3 billion in federal funds for a major broadband initiative. And I'm pleased to see that. And in addition, as you know, and as we need to make sure that all the county officials know, and others working directly with counties and cities, the money that comes directly to Maryland counties and to Maryland municipalities can also be used for broadband connection. In fact, that's one area where there's no limitation at all on the use of those funds. The other area would be on water and sewer projects where that can be used by the local jurisdictions for that purpose. The money can be flexibly used for lots of other purposes too. It's designed to be gap funding, where there's no federal program that's helping a particular, group of particular small businesses or others in a community, so that the local community can help use those funds for that purpose. But the other two areas are also the broadband and the water and sewer. And I think you put your finger on an important issue, which is that we've got to make sure we do this in a smart way, where at the end of the process, we're making sure that we're actually getting the job done in an effective way. And I agree, anything we can do to try to connect people with experts in the area of broadband. The state, of course, has a lot of capacity there, but we're happy to try and connect people who have questions as well.
Thank you.
Senator Reza Jafari here, a trustee of the Chesapeake College and the chairman of the Economic Development for Talbot County. It's great to see you again, to have you here. I have a quick question regarding the job Act, again, the big, I guess, the kahuna, this is going to go through the House of Congress the next few months or so. What are your thoughts? Again, of course, broadband is extremely important. I'm one of the early proponents of it and still continue to advocate. What about the part about the education and community colleges to be free and to be made available? Because as we know, we have a big issue about workforce development, especially in the rural areas, and how would be able to help you and support you to make sure that piece is also being included.
Well, yeah, it's great to see you, and thank you for your leadership. And I know we have a number of leaders in our education community as part of this call, and I want to thank everybody for, you know, doing their very best during these tough times. And as you well know, the bills that we passed today have provided emergency funding for community colleges and four-year institutions, including including our HBCUs like UMES. But the goal of the next two big pieces of legislation, the American Jobs Bill, as well as what I believe will be called the American Families Plan, are to address a lot of these issues on a long-term basis. And when it comes to the piece on community colleges and providing for, free community college education, I expect that's going to be part of the next piece of the infrastructure plan that I think the president will roll out within the coming weeks. I kind of think of the infrastructure plan in two parts, hardware and software. And the hardware, of course, includes everything we've been from roads, bridges, broadband, transit, electricity grid. But obviously the human capital part here is essential to our success, and community colleges and other and four-year institutions are so important to that, as is early education and things like Head Start and Early Head Start program. Earlier today, I talked about some of I was in the Baltimore area talking about some of the Head Start funds, and those are important to every part of our state as well. And, so that will be part of the next piece of this legislation. And it's going to be a good national debate as to, what we need to do in the 21st century, both in terms of our hard infrastructure, as well as making sure we have a great top-notch education system, beginning with early education, going through job training, apprenticeship opportunities programs, community colleges, four-year institutions, so people have choices in terms of their career paths. And that's going to be the next debate. And, part of that will also be the funding sources for the next two pieces. The American Rescue Plan was dealt with as an emergency bill. It includes a significant amount, as you know, but a lot of one-time funding for different things, like the child tax credit, which I think a lot of people have heard about, which will lift 52,000 Maryland children out of poverty and cut child poverty in the country in half. That's an emergency provision. It doesn't go on permanently, and I think we all would want to cut childhood poverty significantly on a permanent basis. So that we also expect will be part of the next bill that will be submitted by President Biden. And this is an opportunity for everybody to participate in, I think, what's going to be a great national debate about our future.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, this is Ann Harston Strang with Maryland DNR Forest Service. I wanted to follow up on the workforce issue. We're just trying to wrap up the forest products market economic adjustment strategy that was supported through the U.S. Economic Development Authority, and thank you for the support on that. But it's raising a lot of opportunity and identifying some of the need that we have for, expansion in those markets in a way that's going to build our economy as well as our ecology support expansion of things like woody biomass for renewable energy in a way that also helps forest health. Just wanted to ask, what kind of opportunities do you see in expanding forest industry and markets in some of the coming legislation?
Yes, and thank you for your work in that area. And you just put your finger on one when it comes to some of the biofuels issues, which is a big part of the bill that's just been introduced. The bill's not been introduced. The framework of the program, the American Jobs Bill that President Biden laid out, does include a great opportunity, I think, for biofuels, biomass, and as part of the effort to transition to a cleaner energy economy. And so that would be one. I think there are a lot of other provisions in the bill that would help the forest products industry in terms of economic growth. And I'm happy to follow up with you and have a member of my team follow up with any ideas that you have as we move through this this process.
Thank you. As soon as we finish the economic adjustment strategy, we're going to have a whole menu of them.
Good, good.
Well, I
don't know, obviously there's the timber industry, and that is we're seeing timber prices go through the roof because of the situation with Canada right now, and it's having an impact on home prices. Part of this infrastructure bill is also to expand the supply of housing because, like so many things, you've got a supply and demand issue here. And there are lots of folks who have to spend an enormous amount of their income on housing, whether it's rental housing or their mortgage payments. So part of this bill is to try to expand our stock of affordable housing. And, obviously there's a forestry component there potentially as well.
Thanks.
I don't want to keep you past any time limits, but I want to tell you that I'm absolutely thrilled that you were able to come visit with us today. And we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, John. It's great to be with you and everybody here on this call. And please, feel free to follow up. We were joined, of course, at the beginning by Delegate Jones, and who worked with Senator Cardin. And of course, he and I work together very closely, as we do with the whole, Maryland delegation on these issues. So please feel free to reach out, to me directly or through one of my great ambassadors who are on the call here, and happy to try and answer any questions that come up. And also, welcome your ideas as we try and fashion these bills to make sure that every part of the country is well served, and that obviously includes our rural areas.
Well, I definitely see Jalen Money at a lot of the Zoom meetings. He's really been working hard. I look forward to seeing him more in person and less in my screen in the very near future. But he and I have been in regular contact, and he's a great asset to you.
Well, thank you, and amen to being able to see everybody sooner rather than later. Time to, the vaccines clearly are being deployed now. We just have to outpace this new variant that has become dominant. But I'm pretty hopeful we're already turning the corner, and I'll hope to see everybody in person soon.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming here today.
Thank you. Thank you, and everybody on the call. Thanks, John.
Charlotte, are there any other announcements that you have? I think we're
And I say Senate Bill 66 was conceded, the Senate concurred with the House amendment, so it is done.
So
So we now
it's
have an
done.
Office of Statewide Broadband. Yes.
So I'm glad that we were able to assist in some small way to get that through the House, and that's great news. Rick Gordon, well, will it take him like 2 days to move from one office to another?
Yeah.
And then we our intention is to have him come to virtually to our BDAC meeting on the 29th. So hope to see him very soon. Are there any other new business or anything else we need to cover? I think we're close to adjournment. I'm not hearing any. So I think, Charlotte, we're ready to ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson.
Everybody be safe.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, I'd like the Govac's. I'll stick around for a minute if there's any questions.
Yeah, I can stick around. Yeah. Hope everybody's doing well today. Enjoy the weekend. So I don't know if you need to share the screen anymore. There you go.
Just thought I'd get that in there.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
So I guess we covered all the business, and I think we're good.
We did. Yeah, we got everything,
And looks like we ended right on schedule. I did get, I got some new information from Chris, so that's always helpful. Let's see. Are we going to do our usual Monday morning meeting? I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Charlotte, I heard that
me
Lindsay
some-
said we're going to have a legislative meeting not on Monday, but on the
Yeah,
17th.
she didn't want to do Siny Die, so we can do on the 19th.
Okay.
We don't have any, now that the bill is done
Now
and the
that's-
budget's done.
Yeah,
we don't have to-
what was the actual bill that passed? Was that 97 or was it?
66.
It was 66.
Senate Bill 66, yeah. It'll be Office of Statewide Broadband.
I still think we need to leave the W in there. And
yeah.
And we are trying to mop up the last areas that don't have broadband service. In other words, we're swabbing the decks of empty areas.
Get this done. We'll get this done.
Let's get this done. And I was interested in the feedback that came back. Everybody's like, yes, we have to do this right, and we have to do it quickly, not waste money. And that's,
well, because that's what happened before. Let's not do that again.
Yes, we have to stay
Although,
focused on.
what about Scott's comments? It's not enough money. It's not enough. We don't have enough.
Well, what we need to do, if they are throwing money at the counties, they may need to augment the state money with whatever some of that federal stimulus money they got, and not squander it on stuff that's not really, stuff. That stuff they should be concentrating 100%. I think that increased property values. I think we need to keep pointing that out.
Mm.
With high-speed broadband is definitely going to be worth more.
Oh, yeah.
No broadband and high-speed unlimited broadband.
Well, it has to be affordable. It can't be $300 a month. It's got to be a little cheaper than that.
Yeah, or they can't put a 300 million byte or 300 gigabyte limit on it and then
Data cap.
start clocking.
Yeah.
After I heard what happened, some of the discussion that happened at the Maryland Broadband Cooperative, I think there's a move afoot in non-Comcast circles to go to a totally unlimited model.